Good evening. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. Today is Thursday, the 11th, and it's actually, I'm trying to adjust this camera a bit here. Sorry. It's actually a rainy, stormy evening. I keep looking out the window there. It's already dark, 8:15, and it's, sorry, it's thunderstorms and lightning here in New York. I'm finishing the day here at the office. We finished about half an hour ago, and I'm trying to squeeze this in before I get on the New Jersey Transit to go home. Today's been a really busy day because I usually do these presentations in the morning. It's busy. My arm's been killing me all day, so I'm just getting around to it this evening. And let's see, I decided to do the Bartholin's gland today because I had 2 people today come in with a Bartholin's gland abscess, and I think I had 1 or 2 people last week, so they tend to come in waves, but it's a fairly what we call bread and butter problem for GYN, and it comes up fairly frequently. So the Bartholin's gland is a secretory gland for the vaginal tissues. The Bartholin's gland are located at both sides of the vaginal opening. So if you put a clock at the vaginal opening, or what we call the introitus, it's at 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock on the face of the clock. They're usually smaller than a green pea size, and you normally can't feel them. If I place one finger in the vagina and the other finger on the outside of the vaginal opening at that 4 o'clock, I squeeze and kind of milk it out this way. I can't feel the Bartholin's glands. They're imperceptible. But if they're swollen, dilated, filled with any kind of liquid or tissue, then they will be palpable. So normally those glands are quiet. With any kind of sexual activity or stimulation, they will start to just secrete a lubricant, which is more of a kind of a watery, mucousy type of discharge. And they secrete directly into the opening of the vagina. So they secrete and they flow back into the vaginal canal or the vaginal vault. The Bartholin's gland lies at the base of the vaginal opening on both sides, but it can track, and it has, potential space, or tracks all the way up into the labia of the vulva, so the outer lips of the vulva, and can potentially track in between the outer and the inner lips of the vulva. If they get swollen, they can kind of dissect up or move up into that space. Sorry. Most people aren't aware of the Bartholin's gland. It's not an issue until it becomes an issue or a problem. So quite often that gland, the little duct that secretes the fluid, gets clogged up. So if it gets clogged or blocked, the body will continue to produce the lubricant or the secretory fluid to prevent the vaginal tissues from getting dry with sexual activity. And if they don't have an egress or a way to get out of the tissues into the vaginal vault, they'll back up. So sometimes if it gets clogged up, it'll get clogged up and there won't be any bacteria or any other outside elements trapped. So that person will have what we call a Bartholin cyst. Now, Bartholin cyst is just the mucus or liquid-filled gland, and it swells up like a balloon. I have seen very large Bartholin cysts. So, as I said, the Bartholin's glands should be imperceptible, and if it fills up, it can get quite large. I've seen women with just that liquid-filled sac, basically, or ball of the Bartholin's gland. I've seen softball size Bartholin's gland just filled with that mucoid material or liquid. Sometimes they will just fill on one side, and other times both sides will fill. And usually if that duct, and it's imperceptible also, the duct or the channel or the tract that allows the gland to secrete that fluid into the vagina, it's imperceptible, so it's like thread size or needle size. If it gets clogged up, it's usually going to be due to increased liquid, moisture, and friction at the vaginal opening. Classically, if it gets clogged up, all the textbooks and the research say we should always check for chlamydia, gonorrhea. That's for two reasons, because those most often the friction is sexual in nature, so it's with intercourse, and then two, those two infections are inflammatory infections, so they can cause inflammation. Inflammation causes scarring, so it will block off that duct to the inflammatory scarring, and then it'll fill up or it'll backlog. But I have seen over the years that any kind of constant moisture and any kind of friction can block off those ducts. So any kind of frequent or habitual vaginal discharge, imbalance issues, and friction, not just with intercourse, but with tight underwear, thong underwear. A lot of women wear thong underwear now. Frequent exercise, especially if it's on an exercise cycle or any kind of cycle machine. Or tight jeans are pretty classic. So any kind of frequent friction and moisture together can block off that duct or pore, and it can backlog. So a Bartholin cyst is not a health issue. It's not a worry or concern. It's an inconvenience because if the gland gets filled up quite a bit, you can see it. It looks like they have an olive, a grape, or an egg in the vagina. That's undesirable for most women. I've had one patient in the past who had the gland backlogged or filled up, and she had it on both sides, so it looked almost like she had testicles. I did a procedure to excise the fluid to remove it, marsupialization type of procedure, which I'll go into later, to remove that, because she was embarrassed, obviously, that it looked like she had testicles, and they were sometimes filling, sometimes decreasing, but it was a constant source of discomfort and embarrassment for her. Now, if that duct gets clogged off or it gets blocked off and it has bacteria that gets trapped in it, bacteria will cause an infection, and that infection will produce pus or purulent liquid, and it can be quite painful, and it can be extremely large, and that will always require treatment. So I'll go into the details of a Bartholin's gland abscess, which is what happens if the duct gets clogged off with bacteria trapped in it, tomorrow. So this is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. Please check out the YouTube channel. It's also called GYN Corner. That was information I presented was on the Bartholin's gland, which is the secretory duct to provide lubrication for the vagina. It can get clogged up and backed up as a cyst, but it can also get clogged up and backed up as an abscess. So I'll go into more details on that tomorrow, Friday, at the presentation. Hopefully I'll be able to do that in the morning this time tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the day, or I guess afternoon, evening. Bye.